I was out walking with Rob and Harriet's the dog, and sort of like, I had an upper inspiratory back pain, so pain when I was breathing in. So I thought I was coming down with a chest infection. But when I woke up on the Saturday morning, I was coughing up sort of copious amounts of like really dark coloured muck, and I was quite short of breath, which was unusual for me because I'm normally sort of relatively fit and active, and I could only walk sort of half a flight of stairs without stopping because I was out of breath. And I didn't sort of recognise any signs of sepsis. I knew that I had an infection, and I knew that I needed antibiotics because it was a bank holiday, that it couldn't wait until the GP opened on Tuesday. I thought this needs, treatment. So I contacted GP out of hours about midday that day, and they got back to me about 9 o'clock. Now, I hadn't felt any worse throughout the day, and as a woman does, you just plough on, don't you? Carry on doing your things. I didn't just stop. Just carried on doing my cleaning. I even wanted to go for a walk in the evening with Rob and Harriet because it was a lovely evening. And I remember Rob saying to me, "I don't know what you're trying to prove," when I was trying to put my walking boots on. And I only managed to get sort of like just a fraction of the way. And we took it at a really slow pace, and we had to keep stopping. And I always remember walking back thinking, I just feel, didn't know if I was going to make it home, feeling like I was going to collapse. But when I came back, I actually sat in this chair here and waited for Rob to come back. And when I was sat down, I actually felt a little bit better. So I cooked food, but I did actually vomit after I'd eaten. But I felt a little bit better again after that. So I hadn't felt any worse from midday that day. And GP out of hours phoned me back about 9 o'clock that night, and they explained my symptoms, and they said that they were very busy that night because it was adjacent to the ED department in Prince Charles Hospital. So they said, you can come up at midnight, but you won't be seen until 2, or you can come up at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I thought, rather than hanging around in the emergency department in Merthyr on a Saturday night, which wasn't going to be very nice, I'd have another early night, because I was ready to go to bed then at 9 anyway, and go up at 9 o'clock in the morning, which is what I did. And then my observations were not very good, and they diagnosed pneumonia, and they admitted me, and I can't really remember much after that myself. But apparently I got into septic shock then, multi-organ failure, and ended up having limb necrosis secondary to the sepsis, and had multiple limb amputations. Basically, sepsis, if it's caught early enough, is so easily treated. And, I just feel, from my perspective, potentially I could have been treated so easily. I think that is the importance of it, is getting the treatment, but getting it early enough to prevent, obviously, death, or to prevent surviving, but surviving with severe life-changing outcomes. Well, initially, I just couldn't do anything. I was dependent on all my activities of daily living. I couldn't hold my head up. I couldn't even move my thumb. I was literally so weak. My body had been just lying flat for 3 months and not done anything, so it literally had gone to jelly. So it was just literally, even just to sort of force myself to move a thumb, I would be exhausted from it. And it's just been a gradual sort of the physios would try and sit me up. And, it was just that. But to me, because I was always independent and active, nothing could come quick enough then. I just wanted it all now. So I think I really did sort of work hard and push hard. And I think you have to get the best out of it. It's your mental attitude. If you don't want to do it, then you're not going to get there. I was in Rookwood for around about 3 months. Yeah, I stayed there as an inpatient because I wanted to get more intensive physiotherapy, whereas I was having physio twice a day. If I was going as an outpatient, I would only be having physio twice a week. I just wanted to walk, so I just kept pushing and pushing. Initially I had a broken area on the one leg, so I was only using the one prosthetic limb, and I had what's called a PAM aid, and that was just like an inflatable thing that came from your ankle up to your thigh with a big frame over it. That you had to walk with a big gutter frame. That was when I was doing my rehabilitation, that you had to hoik your leg over. So you enable you to walk without any pressure. I do get frustrated sometimes because I want to do so much, and I do get sort of broken blisters and that sort of thing. And I think, I want my limbs to enable me to live an active life, not to disable me. It should be about ability rather than disability. That's my motto in my mind. I didn't want to just set a goal. I wanted to set the goal and achieve it as well. But initially it was just sort of a case of just going out in public. Such a drastic change of body image. And, just at the time I was in a manual wheelchair, I had no prosthetic limbs. So it was just going out sort of like with my husband pushing me. So it was just going somewhere where people didn't know me to where people knew me. Then it was sort of going out in more public places, going out to a restaurant, because we go to Solver in West Wales, and I just had to sit in a wheelchair while my husband walked the Harriet on the beaches, and walking on beaches was a huge thing. We love the beach. I am a real self-confessed beach bum. I will put my hands up. We've got a camper van. That's the life we want to live. And so this year it was a case of like I was on prosthetics, but I walked everywhere. Everywhere we used to walk before, I did it this year, and I just think, right, okay, that was a huge challenge conquered. One of the big things was driving. I've done my driving assessment. I'm just waiting to get my car. So all the goals and things is basically one step further to getting your own independence back. Like I go to Zumba classes now and fit steps and aerobics classes, but I think this totally changed our perspective and our outlook on life, and it made us realise what precious commodity life actually is. Don't get me wrong, you do get your dark days, and you've got to accept that there are going to be dark times, and I wouldn't be human in saying that there have been times that I wish that I hadn't survived. So many people have actually said to me, gosh, until this happened to you, I didn't realise what it was. And one of my friends was a nurse practitioner. She sent me a text message and she said, I did like a previous sort of like a TV thing, and she said, you probably saved more lives by doing this than you have in your entire nursing career. And if I can just save one person going through either what I've seen other people with the loss of a relative, and it doesn't impact just on one person, it's a whole, it's family, friends, it's not that person that whose life is affected, so there's so many people that, are left grief-stricken, and I've seen the outcomes of that, and obviously, the life-changing outcomes that I've been left with, and the impact it's had on all the rest of my family. So if I can prevent that happening to even one single person, then it's worth putting up with standing there with my heart banging. Oops. I was told initially that I would probably only ever wear 2 pairs of shoes when I was in Rookwood, and I basically said, well, that's not going to happen. And it was always a case of like his textbook way and there's Jayne's way. But I just thought, well, I'm a woman, to be realistic, that no woman would ever wear just 2 pairs of shoes. I'm not Imelda Marcos yet, but I've got into heels that they never ever said that I would wear. I had a charity ball that was done for me earlier in the year. A good friend of mine organised it, and I had a lovely ball gown, well, an evening dress, long evening dress, and normally I would have worn like a nice pair of high heels. And we'd gone away to the Cotswolds my birthday night, seen this not exceptionally high, but like a block heel of the most amazing shoes that would be perfect for my dress. So I said to the woman in the shop, this is going to be a first for you. And it was definitely a first for me, because I had to take my foot off and then change the angle to see if it was going to fit. And she thought I was somebody from the armed forces. And I always remember being able to stand up in the shop with these shoes, and they felt really comfortable. And I just felt like a princess. I felt like Cinderella. It was just the most amazing feeling. Even now it just gives me sort of like, and I just felt so lovely all night when I had them on. I think in some ways it can make me a better nurse, because having spent so much time as a patient, it gives you it puts you, well, it's totally put me on the other side of the fence to, where you would never expect to be ever. So in fact, I think it's going to make me more empathetic, and I hope that to patients that are coming in that are undergoing major surgery, I can be like an inspiration to them, that they think, well, this person has been through all this and has come out at the end. It's made me a stronger person, I know that much. and hopefully it'll make me and empower me to be a better nurse and empower patients to have more sort of more drive and enthusiasm to pursue their own recovery.